How you doing?
Not bad, you?
Yeah, right, not bad.
I think you probably know why we're looking to stop you, don't you?
What, are you police or security?
Police.
Oh, yeah.
Not many security guards carry guns, do they? You're perfectly at liberty to say no, because I expect you know the law quite well. Do you have any ID on you at all?
No, I don't, mate.
Would you like to account for your actions in the area?
Not really, no, just taking photographs, that's it.
Okay. Under section 43 of the Terrorism Act, then I am going to stop and search you, given the fact of the position that we find you in, the buildings you have been taking pictures of, and the fact you've admitted to taking photos of
Yeah,
those
but this is a public
you
road,
haven't
though.
offered me any reason why. It's section 43 of the Terrorism Act.
As I just said, I'm taking photographs, mate.
Yeah. What buildings were you taking them off?
I'm not taking them or anything, really. I'm just taking whatever I feel like. I'm totally entitled to take photographs.
You are.
Yeah, so what are you saying
but
then?
also under section 43 of the Terrorism Act, I'm entitled to stop and search and stop and speak to anybody that I believe may be undertaking reconnaissance, hostile reconnaissance, or anything related to terrorism. And
so
also hang on, sorry,
okay,
because
go on.
I haven't been impolite and interrupted you.
No, but I just don't like the idea of being searched for no reason when all I'm doing is walking around with a
giving you a
camera.
reason.
The leap from someone's taking photos to section 43 is doing all the heavy lifting here, and it doesn't hold. Officers arrive and immediately reach for terrorism powers, even though photography on its own isn't a trigger. Section 43 exists to search for evidence of terrorism, not to punish curiosity or routine documentation. The facts keep it grounded. Public road, lawful presence, nothing concealed, no restricted view being reported doesn't create grounds, and a camera doesn't become hostile reconnaissance just because armed officers show up. Once those basics are laid out, there's nothing left for the power to stand on.
Yeah, but I've given you a reason why I'm in the area.
The fact you're not willing to listen to it, that is somewhat arbitrary.
Yeah, but I've just told you why I'm in the area.
Okay.
I'm a photographer.
But if that's the case,
I've got a YouTube channel. I take YouTube videos.
If that's the case, then you're perfectly at liberty to give me your name and details, aren't you?
No, why should I?
Okay.
It's a free country.
I know it is.
We're not living in China, are we? Where you've got no rights to do anything. This is the UK, isn't it? Where you've got rights to do what you want. So,
which is also.
And I'm entitled to walk around with my camera and take videos for YouTube and stuff like that.
Well, the reports of people are telling me.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah. Just good.
TE06
Yeah,
QP.
QP.
He's got his on as well.
Thank you very much.
So, like I said, section 43 of the Terrorism Act gives me the power to stop and search you and obtain any details from you that you're willing to give to me.
Well, I'm not really.
Okay, if that's the case, then I am also at liberty to look at the memory cards, SD cards, and anything on those cameras.
Don't be silly. No, you're not.
No, I am.
No, you're not.
I am.
A court of law is the only person who's allowed to look at that.
Tell you what, then, you put your camera down, get your phone out, and Google.
This is where authority starts getting invented on the fly. When asking for his details goes nowhere, the officer pivots, claiming he's at liberty to look through footage, memory, and SD cards. That isn't how it works. Police don't gain browsing rights over digital content just because a detention is taking place. There's a reason devices are seized and proper authority is sought later, because scrolling through data at the roadside crosses a clear legal line. Polite camera action cuts through the confusion. A court may later examine material if it's lawfully seized and relevant, but that doesn't mean an officer can preview it on demand. Courts don't backfill authority after the fact.
It says I'm allowed to look at them to see what you've been doing. Because if it is a case of what you have been looking at is hostile reconnaissance in relation to terrorism.
Hostile reconnaissance to what?
Because you've been taking pictures of a building that is of a sensitive nature.
Well, that logistics building. I'm doing absolutely no wrong, am I, with walking around with a camera?
You're doing wrong?
Well, so why are you searching me then?
At what point have I said you're doing wrong, though?
So why would you search me?
Right, at what point have I said you're doing wrong?
You haven't, but why would you search me if I'm not doing anything wrong?
I've just told you under the Terrorism Act, section 43.
Yeah, but then that means you suspect me of being a terrorist.
It's a suspicion, exactly.
What, you think I'm a terrorist?
It's not an accusation, is it?
You suspect I'm a terrorist? Why don't you go and speak to them first
Okay,
so they can stopping me?
Here we go. Let's chuck a controversial one in here. You're telling me you've spoken to them. When's the last time you think somebody lied to me as a police officer?
Probably all the time. I'm not a liar,
There we go. But I don't know that, do I?
I've told you what I'm doing. I'm totally entitled to walk around with a camera and film stuff. You know I am, so I don't know what you're going on about. You don't think I'm a terrorist. You know I'm not a terrorist.
I didn't say I didn't think you're a terrorist.
Well, why are you stopping me on the terrorism?
My suspicion is.
The officer walks himself straight into a corner. He admits polite camera action hasn't done anything wrong, and the follow-up question exposes it instantly. So why are you searching me? There's no recovery from that. Once an officer concedes there's no offense and no concrete basis, the search loses any legitimate purpose. Trying to patch it with people lie to police all the time only makes things worse. Disbelief isn't grounds for a search, it's an excuse to ignore what's being said. If suspicion survives even when nothing wrong has been done, then honesty becomes meaningless and police powers have no limit. Polite camera action doesn't need to argue, the logic collapses on its own. You can't admit innocence and still justify intrusion. That isn't caution, it's undisciplined use of power.
Suspicion is not a statement of fact.
So then you've got to have you've got to have a proper reason for stopping me, other than you just see me walking around. Of what? Because I'm walking around with a camera. Well, you better make sure you got this right, mate, because there's going to be a lot of trouble otherwise.
Okay, so why do we now have to resort to threats?
No, I'm not threatening you, am I? I'm just saying I'm not physical trouble. I'm just talking.
Why do we have to resort to a threat?
Because I'm going to go to a police station. I'm going to make a massive complaint. That's what I'm saying.
Is completely engage with you in a polite and courteous manner.
Yeah, but you're
at no point have I been rude.
Yeah, are you able to show us some of your footage then of what you've taken?
I don't actually have to, do I? I'm totally entitled to walk around this country with a camera. You all know I am, and it's just you're trying to intimidate me by using terrorism and stuff like
We're
that.
Not trying to intimidate.
No, it's a normal police tactic. Throw big words around and scare people with big words. I'm sorry, I'm just messing my phone. I'm not getting in.
We have to attend every incident. This has come on to us as a 999 call over a secure site. We have a duty to investigate that and to make sure that.
Well, for a logistics firm, I'm not very happy about. I've got nothing on me, but I'm not happy about being searched just because it's infringement on my liberties, and I've done nothing wrong. So.
This is where accountability gets twisted into intimidation. When polite camera action says the officer needs to be sure he's acting lawfully or it could come back on him, that isn't a threat, it's a reminder of proper consequences through legitimate channels. Reframing "I'll complain" as "you're threatening me" is a convenient dodge. It flips scrutiny into misconduct and avoids having to justify the action in the moment. Labeling the logistics warehouse a secure site doesn't fix it either. On-site security controls access to private property. It doesn't extend authority over the public road outside. Polite camera action isn't entering, interfering, or bypassing anything. He's simply observing from a lawful distance. Once that line is understood, the argument falls apart, because nothing he's doing actually crosses it.
We have to find out now what interactions you've had with security, if you've gone past into any secure areas, and exactly what's happened with the drone, all right?
The terrorists would come around at night or just film it on their dash cam, wouldn't they? Or they'd go...
It would be...
Do you know what I mean, though? It's like, surely...
You cannot predict
the
actions of a terrorist.
Yeah, but this is over... That would be covert surveillance, so surely a terrorist would use covert surveillance. They wouldn't stand out here in the broad daylight with a massive camera on a tripod, would they? They'd go and stand at the back and fly the drone. They wouldn't fly it on the middle of the road, would they? I stood there, right in the middle of all the cameras. Hello, mate.
We shouldn't try and predict the acts of a terrorist incident, should we really?
No, I know, but like...
You can see it's like got security, it's got barbed wire, which, what would that indicate?
Yeah, but I'm not... but there's no rules being broken on, or laws being broken by flying my drone over that building.
No, we're not talking about laws at the moment. All I'm talking...
Aren't we? I thought no, these guys are talking about searching me under the terrorism.
I'm having a conversation with you.
Okay.
Polite camera action lands the simplest point they can't answer. Real reconnaissance isn't done openly in daylight with a camera and a drone launched from a public road. Terrorist surveillance is covert by definition. What he's doing is the opposite: visible, documented, and openly explained. Why persisting anyway? The officers end up arguing against basic common sense, effectively suggesting that transparency itself is suspicious. The arrival of another officer only deepens the problem. Barbed wire and on-site security are suddenly cited as reasons not to record the building, even though those measures protect access to private land, not the public's right to observe it from outside. And when pressed, the officer finally lets the truth slip: we're not talking about laws. That line says everything. If law isn't the basis, then this isn't enforcement, it's preference.
But it's a secure building with barbed wire around it, and they've got two secure... I'm never getting in there, am I? It's very secure, so...
No,
do you know what I mean?
One would argue that if it's secure, there's things in there that they might not want anybody to see.
Because you're an auditor, aren't you?
I'm not actually... Nah, you see, this is the people often confuse the two. An auditor is someone who goes out and looks for problems on the sites, don't know, like site security and stuff like that. I'm actually just a YouTuber that just speeds footage up.
Okay,
come back.
It's just slightly different. I carry this because I get stopped a lot, you know. I do. I speak to them. I've been back to the Royal Mail site, and if they come out, at least I've got the security come and attack me. I'm like them guys.
What's your first name? Sorry.
I'm not a friend, you know, whatever. I suppose.
Look, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Have a nice day, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers.
What closes this episode isn't a dramatic showdown, it's the slow collapse of the officer's own position. Polite camera action repeatedly explains that he isn't looking for trouble and isn't doing anything unlawful, and nothing on screen ever contradicts him. The calmer he remains, the harder it becomes to justify the interaction. Their suspicion never turns into anything tangible, and that gap only keeps widening. What stands out is how much time is spent circling nothing. No offense identified. No boundary clearly set. No lawful instruction actually given. Instead, everything rests on implication, security, sensitivity, discomfort, vague ideas that never translate into a power they can lawfully use, and that's how it ends. Not with enforcement, but with retreat. After all the talk of terrorism and security, they walk away having done nothing. No search. No seizure. No offense. Just noise, pressure, and no authority to support it. Once challenged, the power evaporates, and all that's left is the walk back to the van. If you found value in this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to help keep this kind of accountability in the spotlight. I'm the Audit Assessor. This was episode 9. See you next time.